Don't be an imitation of somebody else's greatness, because you have your own greatness. Greatness is in you.
Hey there, this is Patrice Washington, and you're listening to the Purpose to Platform podcast, where we share stories of women who are using their God-given gifts to chase purpose and create influence, impact, and income with integrity. In today's episode, we're really talking about imposter syndrome and why and how it blocks you from actually pursuing your God-given purpose. Now, before we really jump in, I think it's important that you know the actual definition, or at least one definition that I like of imposter syndrome. And it says it's a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Now, if you just let that sink in, I know that you immediately could identify with that definition. If you're honest, and I don't care who you are, what you've done, how much you've accomplished, at some point in your life, you have slipped in to some version of imposter syndrome. And I see this so much, especially in working with women and having an emphasis on working with women of color, that we typically lean into this idea that even though I've done all of the hard work, I've gone to school, I've gotten the degrees, or I've been at this company for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and yet when it's time to go for more, or to ask for more, or to negotiate more, I don't step up because something inside is saying, either I'm not worthy of it, or if I get it, they're gonna find out that I'm not as smart, or not as brilliant, or not as wonderful as these credentials make me sound. And the biggest problem with imposter syndrome is not only what it does to you. The people who really suffer from your imposter syndrome are the people that you were born to serve. There is someone out there right now who is tossing and turning. They are not sleeping at night. They are so stressed and distraught by their circumstances that they're not eating. They are wasting away. They feel stuck. They feel paralyzed. They feel hopeless. And the truth is, you have the answer. You have the answer to every question that might be swirling around in their mind right now. And you are allowing imposter syndrome to keep you from answering the call. Shenelle?
Hi, everybody. So I just want to come on here and say thank you because before this program, I was really dimming my light. I had really kind of just shown up in like small spaces where I was comfortable with people that I knew. And the reason for me doing that is because all my life I was told that I was too much for people. I had too much personality. I was just too big for the room. And it really caused me to sit there and this program really caused me to sit back and really think back to those things, those incidents, those situations that occurred. And it made me realize that I wasn't too big for the room. I was just too big for those people that were around me, and that they weren't meant to be the people that were supposed to be there in my life to guide me and to get me to where I was going, where I needed to be. And this program, I think it was a few weeks ago when I actually really saw my future self. And she really did not care. Like she didn't care about any of my past or anything else. She just wanted me to get up and show up for her and be the person that I'm supposed to be so that she can step into her place and stop waiting and being held back. And I want to thank this program because everyone in this program is intentional. Everyone in this program has purpose. Everyone in this program didn't hold back. Everyone shared what they felt and like what, helped other people along when they were struggling. And this program in itself is such a blessing because it's your light, Patrice. that you allow to shine.
You might be wondering right now, well, how do I know, Patrice, if I have imposter syndrome? Like, how does this show up in my life? I can tell you 3 ways that it's shown up in my life. 1, I have not taken opportunities that I was more than qualified for. I remember years ago getting an email about a media opportunity, and I immediately went to YouTube to go watch other people's videos of what past experts had done. And I dropped right into comparison mode. Well, I don't talk like so-and-so, and I'm not sure if I'm as polished as so-and-so. And I don't like to talk about money in the same way that this person talks about money. And I immediately started comparing. When the truth is, that media outlet had already researched me. They already knew that I was different than so-and-so. They already knew what my strengths and weaknesses were. And they already felt that I was more than qualified to be on their large platform. And I'm the one who ignored the email for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then they circled back and I made an excuse about having to travel. And then they circled back, and finally, after talking to a girlfriend, it was apparent to me that I thought that by going on this media outlet, somehow it would be exposed that I wasn't as smart as people thought I was. And my actual episode, when I finally pushed past that, right, I was able to name it, call it out for what it was, which is really a lie from the pits of hell. I was able to call it out for what it was. And the episode that I recorded actually ended up being one of the most watched episodes of that platform. I ended up being a fan favorite. And here I was judging myself, comparing, and putting limitations that did not even exist. All right, Whitney.
I'm feeling so much more comfortable with being me. And I think that has a lot to do with me, first of all, not giving 2 craps about what people say, because I know what I bring to the table. And like, I think for myself, I've been dealing with so many things, like you said, that have been testing my mother method, like testing. And then I implement it and I'm like, ooh, you know, like I just implement my same stuff and I'm like, And it doesn't matter what type of situation I'm facing when it comes to my children. Like we just moved into a new house, mother method, boom, like little stuff. And it's just like, I am designed for this. And it doesn't matter, you know what I'm saying, if people don't get it, if I don't talk like them, if I don't walk like them, if I don't whatever, it doesn't matter. That, I feel like that was the big thing that was holding me back for so long. I've always felt like I had to be like all the other people in the parenting space. And it's just like, that's not me.
I remember when we had that talk about Deborah Tillman. And you're like, but I'm not like Deborah Tillman. I said, who asked you to be like Deborah Tillman? I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear you with this level of clarity. This is good.
It just feels so much more freeing. Like I just feel so much better talking about the stuff I talk about and just all of the things related to my content. I just feel like my content is better. Like I just feel so much better now that I've released that off of me. And I got to thank my P2P sisters that be like, girl, say that, or girl, do this, or girl, do that, like hyping me up. I'm like, okay, y'all, I'll do it. And so that helps a lot too. So I'm just thankful for this community, and I'm just thankful for the clarity that I've found so far being in the program. So I just want to say that.
Another way that you can spot imposter syndrome is not being able to let compliments land. And this probably seems so subtle, and it probably feels so humble. But the truth is, you're always surprised when someone compliments you on something that you are more than skilled at. Why should you not be complimented? And let me tell you, I'm talking to myself. I always say at Purpose to Platform, and in everywhere I go, we are growing together. I am not saying that this has been mastered. I think the beauty is I work with so many women and I see it so often that as I feel it creep up in myself, I can pinpoint it a little bit faster than maybe we can when we're just on our own. But not being able to take a compliment about something that you went to school to do or something that you've been studying for years or something that you clearly have mastered faster than the average person, something that you have so much experience in, and you know you're the bomb.com, and yet when someone comes and says, oh, wow, you say, no, I mean, it's not really that hard. I mean, anybody can do it. It's not that big a deal. So your imposter syndrome makes you diminish the compliment, deflect the compliment, hide from the compliment, and just not let it land.
Chulu, what's going on?
I just completed my second round of my mindfulness challenge, and you can see the change in them. So I think that's my win for this week.
Chulu, that's phenomenal. But I also saw, were you not on television or something?
Yeah, that was the interview that I did like a few weeks back. So then they released it now. Yeah.
So you just were gonna skip over the fact that you were on television?
No, but I already talked about it.
Let me tell you something. Every interview that gets recorded doesn't hit the airwaves.
Oh,
be clear. Never take that for granted.
Okay.
I have recorded segments that never saw the light of day, that ended up getting cut for some reason or another. I remember one time I recorded something for Dr. Oz, and then he had this big special with Charlie Sheen or something talking about, and they cut everybody who got recorded that day, and it never saw the light of day. I ended up going back and doing something different because it was a timely thing. So we celebrate every step of the win. And this is also why when we talk about the brag binder, we talk about how we have the, how many of us, I'll speak for myself, I'm wired to go from thing to thing to thing and just skip over stuff. But I'm hoping that as I try to remind myself in reminding you all, or in reminding you all, I remind myself that everything counts. Everything counts. So tell us about TV. You were on TV, correct?
Yes, I was on TV this week. So it was good. Like, I didn't remember what I said, so I had to go back and watch it. But it was really, really good. And yeah, I'm grateful. I think, yeah, I think that I'm getting better at telling my story because I'm not used to talking about myself. But I had done another interview before that. And then this one, I think I was more eloquent with the way that I told my story, and I felt good about it. So, yeah.
Wonderful. And it'll only get better as you continue to tell it. And I'm so proud of you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And the third one, and this is a big one, whenever you are suffering from imposter syndrome, you probably overwork yourself to prove your worth. When you're suffering from imposter syndrome, you become the classic do too mucher. You exhaust yourself doing things that didn't nobody ask you about. I know the vernacular is wrong, but you get what I'm saying. Right? My old pastor used to say it's bad grammar, but that theology is right? Like, you exhaust yourself doing things didn't nobody ask you to do. And now you're working longer hours. You're getting there early, you're staying late, you're skipping your lunch break, you're missing out on family activities, doing so much to prove that you belong, to prove that you should have this seat at the table. You are over delivering. So one of the first ways I suggest you starting to tackle this imposter syndrome is to remember who you are and what you've done. Sometimes we get so caught up in going from thing to thing to thing that we forget to stop and assess how much we've already accomplished. There's nothing wrong with wanting more, but don't forget about what you've already done. So we use brag binders, and that's really about looking at your education, your experience, the results you've gotten for people, and reflecting on it, doing your own case studies, remembering. It's all about remembrance. That's why I love in the Old Testament of the Bible, when it would, they would say, write it down, put it on this tablet, like leave a marker so that your descendants always know that this is the place, right, where these things took place. Well, in the same way, you have these written markers to remind you, oh yeah, I did do that. Oh yeah, I did accomplish that. Oh yeah, I did. I was the first, to do this big thing at my company. You got to remember, because that selective amnesia will get you every time. And you'll look up and you'll start to ask, what have I really done? And you'll carry yourself that way, like, well, I haven't done enough because your brain is always trying to prove you right. And I recently heard that we got to ask better questions. So it's not about, well, who am I to do such and such, right? It's really, why am I not the person who can do such and such, based on here are the things that I've already done.
Courage, you're off mute, so
I am. Because I should have said this earlier, but I didn't. You can't be Patrice. That's not a dig, that's honesty. I can't be Dr. Vernell. I can't be Candace. So that's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my time. I can't be Ashley. I can't be Gail. No, I can be Courage. And the best that I can do in this life is to show up fully as Courage. Because me being Courage beats me trying to be anybody else any day of the week. The impact that I will have being myself, the impact that you will have showing up as Whitney, right? Little wretched, little righteous. The impact that you will have showing up fully as Hella Danielle, it pales in comparison to any other fake great value version of some. Don't be a great value version of Courage, boo. I said what I said, Dr. Vernell. Nene Leaks, I said what I said. Don't show up trying to be a great value version of something like that makes no sense. Don't be an imitation of somebody else's greatness, because you have your own greatness. Greatness is in you. You're playing yourself to the left when you are trying to show up as somebody else.
So to summarize everything we've talked about today, I just really pray that your number one takeaway is that you don't have to be an imposter anymore. There's no need, there's nothing to hide, nothing to defend, nothing to protect. You already have everything that it takes to accomplish the purpose that you've been given. And most importantly, there are people waiting on you. There are people who need you to get over this imposter syndrome, to break through, to move it around, to push past it, because they're suffering. And their healing depends on you embracing who you've always been and owning everything that you've done in order to fulfill the purpose and the call on your life. This is Patrice Washington, and thank you so much for listening to the Purpose to Platform podcast. If you resonate at all with this episode, please subscribe to the show via Apple Podcasts and rate and review. The ladies and I have enjoyed our time with you this week, and we invite you to join us next week for a brand new story. Take care.